each of your items are made from pallets. And could you talk about, or recycled timbers?
Yeah, recycled materials, yeah, that's right.
Could you talk about how you source those recycled materials and where they end up being in the different items of furniture? Yeah.
Well,
and how you make the most of that stuff that you have.
Majority of the time, I've built up some good contacts over the last year of firstly demolition companies, and also just builders that are pulling down whether it be fences or pulling up floors and replacing bearers and joists in floor, which is obviously where a lot bigger timber comes from. It all depends what we're building in terms of what timber we use. If obviously some things you don't want to be heavy, like something like a stool or a chair, you can't make it too heavy, so you want to use like a lighter material, so a thinner gauge, and just obviously a good design to make it so it's going to be sturdy but not too heavy. Whereas a thing like a dining table, you want it to be heavy and sturdy, so it's not we don't design dining tables that can be picked up and moved around all the time. Obviously we can make a trestle table, which that's for, but if we're making a dining table, we want to use some big heavy hardwood that you can sit, it sits in one spot and doesn't move. So it all depends on what we're building in terms of which material we use.
So how do you determine what is wasted and what's usable from that stock that you're getting from demolition?
Well,
because some timbers can be knotty, rotted. Like we talk about warps and twisters.
Obviously, if it's rotten, there's not much we can do with it. We can sometimes chop the rotten bit out and get rid of it, but if it's got knots, depending which way the twist is in the timber. With this edge planer, we can use a lot of it. Depending how, sometimes they're so twisted that there's no coming back. No, if they twist both ways, then you can't really do much with it. Either way, any rotten bits, offcuts, twisted bits, we cut it all up into small seconds, and it gets used as firewood.
Wonderful.
So we don't.
Do you sell it, or do you just give it to friends and mates and stuff?
During summertime, we give it away because no one really wants it. But in winter time, we'll chop it up into small pieces, and we sell it for super cheap, just enough to cover our time of cutting it all up.
Have you come across material at any stage and then thought that you don't have anything that you could implement it with at that time, but then design or create something to use your
everything? Pretty much everything I do, I design backwards. I work out what I've got access to, and then design from that, rather than sitting there and designing a table and thinking, what materials can I use?
Yes. I'll
look at what I've got access to. If I know if I know it's a table for instance, a chain of cafes, and they're going to want 10 now and 10 in 3 months and 10 in 6 months, and I've got to be able to recreate it. I need to be able to look at to make sure I use a material that I can get access to again, which in the recycling industry isn't that easy.
No.
Because you may just get it once.
And then that's it.
Yeah, that's it. You may get a beautiful timber and you make 5 tables that the people sell. We want 15 more of them, but you can't get the timber again. So I think it's important that if you're using recycled materials and you plan on creating a line or something, that the timber that you're using is something that you can get access to conquer that problem. We work backwards and making sure that I've got enough of the material before I use it.
But also, like when a custom client comes in, like a residential one, like a dining table, and sometimes for the commercial jobs as well, if they tell you kind of what they're imagining, we're always going to try and push the recycled timber we have here first before sourcing them.
Yeah, but it also means that if you've got timber that you got once from somewhere and you can't get more, that also means that you've got the ability to make, say, 3 tables, and you say, I can only make 3 of these, and someone goes, can you make that table, and you say, no, I haven't got any left, I can only make 1 more of these tables, and that's it, there'll be no more coming out because I can't get the timber again.
Yeah, there's a lot of validity in a handmade object as well, that's one of, and it's made to suit and custom designed.
Yeah, if I've pulled down some, for instance, I pulled down some iron bark from which is a table over there, which is from a set of cattle yards in Dungog. I had enough to build 8 tables, and then once that's gone, I've got no more of it. Whether it doesn't matter how much people pay, I couldn't find the timber again.
And what are other timber species that you come across frequently that you tend to be using?
We get a lot of Oregon because
building material.
Oregon, because a lot of roof trusses are made from Oregon, and they're used to be everywhere because I used to be everywhere and used to be able to use it for formwork, for building site, but obviously you can't use it anymore. It's not. They've now deemed it not strong enough, which is probably right. And yeah, I guess there's a lot of small sections of hardwood, but the bigger hardwood like ironbark and I guess spotted gum and that sort of thing, they're harder to find. But if you can get that, that's what people really want. If you can find like floor joists or bearers from a floor, then a big section of like something like an 8x2 or a 6x2, like that, that's the good stuff.
But also we've realised now that a lot of the hardwood fence that we have, because our sort of timber knowledge is obviously growing, but when we were speaking to my uncle in the timber industry, like he actually pointed out that a lot of the fence we're using, when it's stripped back, like it's got this negative appearance that it's fence, but actually he was pointing out that a lot of it actually is hardwood. It's like ironbark gum through it that people don't realise at all. And they like deem fence as this like
waste or
this
yuck, or they want corrugated.
But it's this, actually this beautiful, like this is all fence through this table, and it's like all this amazing timber underneath it. Just people have to actually sand it back. And
can I also ask you specifically about your finishing process, because what I'm seeing on is beautiful.
Yeah, we don't like to do too much staining and varnishing. I think it takes away from the look of the timber. All we try and do is put something that a finish that's going to enhance the timber that we've used. So I mean, most of the time, like this table for instance, it's just got a water-based clear coat on it, which is a non-toxic. Doesn't have a smell. It's just a simple. Just creates a small film at the top so you can wipe it down easily. Stops any splinters. If you've got a timber like a really nice hardwood, like if you're using say big sections to make a dining table, if you've got the time to do it, then the best finish you can use is like a wax. As long as you put it on and buff it off, and you do about 4 coats of wax properly.
And maintain it.
Easily, obviously, you have to maintain it.
Do you give it to clients to maintain, or do you come back and?
I'll tell them what. I'll give them the finish, what we've used to finish it. But
students in this grade have actually made their own.
Yeah, that's cool.
With
turpentine beeswax. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, though, we're finding we used to use a lot of wax, and we find now that a lot of people aren't interested in maintaining their furniture. So they want, as soon as you mention the word "mate," this is what you need to do to maintain it. They say, "Is there some way that you can?
So silly.
Is there a way that I can have it so I don't have to maintain it?" There's an option. This is something. This finish on this table, I think it's a really good finish for what it is.
It took us a long time to find this finish though, because we were pretty against using, like, I guess one of our words is the polyurethane, but because it's such a disgusting.
It just goes yellow.
Product, but we spent a long time and we found this is a Porter's product that we use now, but actually came to us from a woman who didn't want to use any toxins, and her son was allergic to pretty much every chemical.
Wow.
And she did so much research and found this product, and then we realised how much we loved it, because I just find that wax, I think, doesn't need maintaining. People would sort of come back to you in 3 months and be like, "Oh, like my table is splintering," and you're like, "Well, that's kind of
starting. Well, people do also, although they'll have a table and they'll put their boiling hot pot off the stove on it, and it'll put a burn mark on the table, and they wonder why.
And then it's always our fault, kind of thing. So
that's difficult.
Timber table.
A warranty situation as
it's
well.
It's not,
But we really like this, and we tested it for a few months as well. We realised we had to start testing things, and then we changed it all over on our rental products, and realised that it withstands anything. Like you can bash it around, like peel it, like it's so sturdy.
It's like like a polyurethane is like a polyurethane will have it has like a yellowing agent in it, and it's designed to create a film, and it's not flexible. Whereas this product it's water based, it's flexible, and it's completely non-yellowing. So I'll tell you the polyurethane is non-yellowing, but I guarantee it'll yellow every time.
Yeah, and it's so hard to get sticky, and it's just
if you don't do it right, it's a mess.
This almost feels like you're painting on like that craft glue in your little. It's fun. We go through a lot of it.
A Porter's product. It's
Okay.
really good. It's more expensive than polyurethane, but
It's worth it.
it's definitely worth it.